Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. Good intentions, wrong results. Every time about this time of the year, I break out this sweatshirt and I wear it quite often. And every time I wear this sweatshirt, which again is quite often, I'm reminded of my stepmother, Beverly. You see, I come from, like a lot of people in this world I've come to find, from a split home. And my stepmom, Bev, she always had the best out for me. She always meant extremely well for me. And she always tried extremely hard, okay? If you could put Bev into football terms, my stepmother into football terms, you would come back to that saying that all football coaches and all football players have heard, right? Particularly when they're learning the sport or learning a new offense or new defense. Coach will tell them, hey, if you don't know what you're doing, just go 110%, go as hard as you can, and just hit something, right? That is the epitome of my stepmother. She always has good intentions. She might not always have the right results, right? She's always going to drive that thing 110 mile an hour, and she's going to hit whatever she hits, but she's probably not going to have the proper execution, assignment, and alignment, right? Every single time. And this sweatshirt is an exact example of that, and I've had it for years. I've had it since college. You see, I played at Shorter University. It was a very Kentucky bluish, all right? This is not Kentucky blue. It is very close. It is almost there. It is one of my favorite sweatshirts I've ever had. It was excellent, excellent effort. It was not so great execution. And for the reasons that I bring the sweatshirt up today, I find that the game of football has seen very similar results over the last, decade. Okay, over the last decade of football, we have seen an overwhelming effort to make this game much, much safer. Okay, we have tried to take the head out of all contact. We have tried to take the spine out of the game of football. We are going out of our way every Saturday, Sunday, Monday through Friday to protect the longevity of both the brain and the spine of football players. And I'm 100% with it. It is the right intentions. We are going about it 100% the right way. However, there are some byproducts of this or some outcomes of this that are not necessarily positive, and they're kind of unavoidable, and they're happening all across the sport. Okay, between rugby style tackling and the general avoidance of the midsection area, lower body injuries are through the roof in the sport of football right now. I went through the NFL injury report today. Of the nearly 50 players that were actually listed with disclosed injuries, 24 of those nearly 50 players were listed with quote-unquote ankle injuries. That's on the official report, okay? I presume the number is probably close to double that of guys that are actually playing through ankle sprains or playing through high ankle issues or playing through whatever there is not listed. Also, on that official injury report that the NFL issues every single week, about 70% of those guys don't even list an injury that is ailing them, that we could probably presume, based off the absolutely undeniable data, a lot of those are probably ankle or lower body injuries. I looked at it today. Georgia currently has 11 players on the injury report. 3 of those players are ball-carrying athletes, meaning they play a position that ends up carrying the ball. All 3 of those football players have lower body injuries. Kendall Milton, a sprained MCL that was aggravated this weekend from somebody tackling him in the lower body area. Brock Bowers, a football player who suffered an ankle injury due to a very similar rugby style tackling that we're talking about. And Roderick Robinson, a football player who also has suffered from an ankle injury. Look, I could be swimming and fishing in bassless waters and baseless waters. There could be no fish out here. There could be no basis to my arguments, but I'm just telling you right now, I played offensive line, been around football for a long time. When I was playing ball, when guys were taught to get their head across, when they were taught to strike with the screws of their helmet, we had a lot of neck injuries. We had a lot of head injuries. We had a lot of bad things to happen, but we didn't really have high ankle sprains at an outrageous rate. We didn't have knee injuries at a high outrageous rate. What we have sacrificed in the game of football for the protection and the sanctity of the head and the neck, we have now given up in terms of safety for our knees and our ankles. So you might be able to think well when you're in your 50s, but you're probably not going to be able to walk well in your 50s if you play this game. And guess what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I worry about my brain. I do. I worry about my brain after 18 years of contact football. I worry about my brain. I damn sure don't worry about my ankles. I can fix my ankles. They got stuff for that. They got stuff for my knees. They got nothing for my head. So good intentions. We're seeing some negative results from the game becoming ultimately safer.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things that you're going to have to give and take some things. You want to give the longevity of people having their brains and the functionality of it and the full functionality of it, or at least to what a football player that plays the game for 25 plus years or whatever, but it might cost you some ankle pain or some knee pain.
Absolutely. Hey, welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. We don't do question and answer very often since the new show's format has come about, but it is Thursday during a bye week. We're going to fire off some Q&A tonight. We've already got some questions loaded up. We're going to start with some Twitter questions, get the ball rolling. I want you guys to fire those things off in the chats. As always, Super Chats gets hit first, okay? And please, 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 for the love of my sanctity here as the host of tonight's show, please leave a question, actual question mark, on your question in the chat so we can easily find those and make sure we're not missing any of those. I thought those stats today from the injury report basis were pretty, not necessarily fascinating. I've always kind of been tracking the foot injuries, thought foot injuries were a major issue over the last several years. Guys breaking their foot, almost non-contact breaking their foot. Thought that was really, really weird over the last couple of years. You know, guys like Darnell Washington had something happen. You had a Liz Frank injury with Tate Ratledge. That wasn't necessarily non-contact. It was weight-bearing, but it was very sudden. I don't like seeing sudden ligament damage issues on feet, okay? But football-related injuries like ankle sprains and knee sprains, I can quantify, understand why they're happening. It's the game of football. And again, what we've given up for the headshots, we're now taking in that lower body. But no, we actually do have our second half predictions. We're beyond halfway through the season, but we are at that midway breaking point in sto facto the bye. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate and reviewing all that great stuff here on the channel. We appreciate you guys for being here with us. Hey, Jay Will, let's go ahead and get our first question of the day from Twitter over there, the lovely folks that follow your boy over there on the socials.
I think this is the perfect question to get us started off with on Q&A just because it kind of fits our mold. Sorry, blocking you a little bit.
No,
it's
you're
all
good.
good. So this is the question of who would win in a fight, a grilled cheese or a taco. And the stipulation set on this is that they have legs, but they don't have arms.
See, this was a key note here because when the first question got proposed to me, grilled cheese, taco, didn't know if we had any extremities, didn't know if we had any arms or legs, thought it was very important to ask such a question. And to get an answer with only one or the other, okay, typical of our audience base, I applauded the man for his ingenuity there in the chat today. So what we have here is we have a grilled cheese with legs, a taco with legs. They getting after it. Who's going to win this fight? I was talking about it a little bit with you today before the show. I love the base. I love the base of the grilled cheese. Plays with a nice wide stance, you would imagine, right? Good square foundation. Only problem is you get him turned sideways, might have a short edge on him, you know what I mean? But if we're talking about the legs being brought into the equation, don't want to do any stereotyping, but hey, certain regions of the country have certain assets, right? Southeastern bodies are much bigger. We come down here to pick up our defense lineman, offense lineman. If I want to see some foot skills, if all I'm giving you are feet, I would imagine the taco's got some background on the soccer fields, okay? Would imagine. Just, again, not stereotyping too much, but just want to go on out there and say, hey, if all I got are my legs, the taco probably a little bit better with his legs than the standard grilled cheese.
I think grilled cheese is super fundamental, and there's nothing wrong with being fundamental. It's elite at being fundamental, and that I can rock with that. But I think taco has a little bit more versatility to his game, a little spice, just a little extra to his game a little bit.
You're correct in this sense that, like, with a grilled cheese, not a lot of add-ins to the grilled cheese. You might throw a little Canadian bacon in there, might throw a little, actual bacon in there, but not going to reinvent the wheel with the grilled cheese. However, the taco, bro, we have full-on taco bars. We can go all kind of sugar and spice and everything nice
Yeah, but what's
with
that
the
got to do
taco.
with the fight?
Bro, well classified. He's well trained. He's well versed. He can fight on multiple grounds. He's got a different flavor to him. Let me ask you this.
But that was my next point.
Hold on. No. He opened himself here. Okay, look, I got one guy coming at you in one stance the whole night. Okay, only going to hit you with that front jab. Not really going to have to worry about it, right? Good front jab. Got a solid one, and it's a lot of power, packs a lot of punch. but that's it. All right. Whereas I bring this other fighter in here, and this other fighter's got a whole variety to him. Okay. You might have to watch out for the leg kicks, might have to watch out for the judo, might have to watch out for everything because he's well versed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you hit that versatile fighter with one thing, he's breaking instantly. Have you taken a bite out of those hard shell tacos?
This is true.
They're
They are
brittle as
very
hell.
brittle.
For sure.
Now, we didn't get any classifications whether or not it was a hard shell or
even
soft
if it's
shell.
soft
shell?
Damn.
Yeah, soft
Even
shell
if it's a
can rip
soft shell,
very, very easily.
yeah,
But
rips
he can
easily.
absorb a lot more if it's soft shell.
Oh, as if a greasy grilled cheese can't?
Have you ever tried to take apart a grilled cheese?
Yeah,
It's not easy.
the
It's like
cheese
glue.
pull, bro.
For sure.
No, I'm talking about take the bread off.
Yeah, no, it's
definitely
like,
got some
it's
more
like dough.
durability to him.
Yeah.
Could last
Grilled
him the
cheese is
fight
much more
longer.
durable.
Man.
I'm going
But
grilled cheese.
You going
Taco
grilled
has
cheese?
Taco has the ability to give that one knockout, just that one move knockout, and the fight's over 2 seconds.
That's
in.
facts.
What move?
Dude, did you not just listen to the whole scouting
Taco
report
packs
I
a punch.
provided you? Versatility, a little more spice to his game.
I mean,
like
in
it.
flavor wise, yeah, but his defense is weak.
Final answer?
I'm going grilled cheese.
I'll take grilled cheese.
I'm taking taco. I like a fighter that I know's got a variety of styles. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to go in there and not be predictable. It's hard to know which taco night you're going to get on a Tuesday.
For sure.
Okay, so let's hit a super chat before we get back to anybody over there on Twitter. Cole Dowdy over on YouTube says, Brock Bowers was freshman All-American. Now we have Lawson. Can Lawson do the same stuff, or is that completely out? Is he, quote, not good enough? So I think it's very important to understand how truly special Brock Bowers was. All right, first and foremost, I don't think we have to go outside of our world. Can you readjust our
Yeah, I got you.
our screen here for me? Anyways, I don't think I have to go out of this world to hammer down the fact that Brock was special, even as a freshman. But if you remember, it wasn't until like games 5, 6, 7, really into that Tech game where they were like, oh, look what we've got. You know what I mean? They didn't really start feeding him until later on in the season. And Lawson's not really getting called upon until later on in the season. And it was going to be in my second half predictions. I'll go ahead and hit it now because Q&A tends to run long. We tend to be a little bit long-winded. But these late season runs, it's about time for them to start happening for young freshmen. And I think a lot of people, when this Brock Bowers injury came about, everybody's like, oh, Oscar Delp's role must dramatically get increased. And to an extent, yes. But if you're going to remain a 12 personnel like football team, Oscar Delp's snap count didn't get increased. In fact, his snap count is probably the same now as it ever was going to be when he was on the field, because they were almost exclusively in 12 personnel, which meant he was on the field. Now, if you become an 11 personnel like football team with Brock Bowers out, Oscar's still going to remain on the field doing all the same stuff. It's not a different offense. It's different personnel packaging. Now, to answer the Lawson question, his is the role that just got increased, because if you are going to remain a 12 personnel team, which film told me that they didn't lean on it as much, but they still had to go into it for certain play calls and certain portions of the game plan against Vandy when Brock went out, then yes, Lawson's role is certainly going to increase. Now, to answer your question of essentially how good is Lawson Lucky, Lawson Lucky's eval from his junior fall was this right here. Going to be an established blocker, going to probably get a comp for me to like a Rylan Godey his junior year. All right. And then I saw him that spring. Okay. And no, he was a totally different football player. It was far more closer to, oh no, he's got like this Brock Bowers athleticism, this this Oscar Delp type of athleticism, this move tight end type of stuff. Whereas the first 3 years of his high school career, we thought he was just going to be a really, really good physical, well-rounded tight end. His senior year, he developed into this type of freak that had, I don't know, schools like Alabama camping out like for 4 or 5 of his home games at Norcross his senior year. So he became a very, very highly touted football player that was on an ascension in his career. And then he got to Georgia, and guess what he did from January? And get share and get talked about and get Kirby's praise and just this, right? It's just this steady incline, and then he gets hurt. All right, and he got hurt during fall camp. And Kirby talked about this week, him just now kind of being back to his full self. So there's that. We want to hit another Twitter question. Do we have another super sub that we got to get to? I see our man Marion Campbell in there just messing around. I am Ron Burgundy. No, that's not Marion Campbell. That's Jedediah Sanchez. Appreciate you there, my man, with the super chat just because. Give me another one of these Twitter questions. I thought they did a great job on Twitter today.
So this next one, hold on, it's hard to read. Oh, how does Georgia effectively recruit against NIL for top defensive line players?
So it's not just top defensive line players. It's kind of across the board now. All right, it's NIL recruitment. It's whatever you want to call that nowadays. But here's what you got to understand: Georgia, whether it be a defensive lineman, a wide receiver, a quarterback, whoever it is, from my understanding, Georgia does not do negotiation-based NIL recruiting. Okay, there is essentially a flat rate fee. You come to Georgia, you'll get your NIL whatever package is available. Okay, but there is no ransom negotiation style like there's going on in recruiting nowadays, where school X calls and says, "I'll give you this monthly," and then school Y says, "Oh, that's what they said. Okay, I'll bump up." Well, guess who's never calling back and saying, "I'll bump up"? Georgia. They just don't do it. Georgia's base salary based, all right? And, hey, when you get to the NFL, that's where you make up whatever you passed up to come here. There was a lot of talks about Damon Wilson last year, how, he took money to go to Georgia, right? I heard a lot of that in the Ohio State fan base. That's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, I almost don't like what On3's doing with the establishment of NIL market values and putting dollar figures on athletes that aren't in college and making this assumption that certain players are worth certain money that they don't have quantifiable technical upfront data with. I don't necessarily like it, but here's what I do like. I like that they're tracking how much money is being spent by some of these schools because it verifies what we hear through the tea leaves. Read every single one of these On3 NIL, collective spending reports. All right, they're out there. Just type in highest spending NIL collectives. On3 will have a litany of articles ready for you to read. You know who you won't see in the top 5 of those? Georgia, Alabama. They won't. They won't be there. And Ohio, to give them credit, Ohio State ain't even there. All right? You know who it is right now? It's a lot of Florida State action. It's a lot of Oregon action. It's a lot of Tennessee action. It's a lot of Texas action. It's a lot of Texas A&M action. I love that now at least there is some obviousness about this. There is some outfrontness about this. There is some verifiable data behind this because you know what boosters love to do? Boosters love to talk about how much money they spend on their football program. And you know whose boosters ain't out here bragging about how much money they're spending on their program right now? Georgia and Alabama. So it's out in the open. Now we all know. So all the Georgia throws bags accusations for years, those are kind of meritless nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Another thing it does is it allowed us to kind of quantify the running back conversation that we had a few months ago back about the track record of running backs, what schools are they going to now. A lot of them are going to those NIL-based schools, and we can see that now because of the top 10.
Which, again, if I'm the agent or if I'm the parent or if I'm a running back myself and I'm 17 years old, I know that my maximum earning years are from the moment I get out of high school where I can legally garner money to the moment I'm out of my first contract in the NFL, because statistics say I'm not making it out of that anyways, right? We see these NFL running backs complain. Well, the easiest way to back end that, or to worry about that, not have to worry about that in the back end, is to take care of it in the front end. And I think we're seeing that on the NIL market at certain positions, particularly the running back position. You are right. Where do we want to go next? Let's hit some of these YouTube chats. Here we go. Will we see more playing time from Marvin Jones Jr. and Darius Smith? Certainly Marvin Jones Jr. Darius Smith has been a team issue thing is what it seems like the last couple of weeks. He hasn't dressed. We'll leave it at that. What is the likelihood of seeing 13 personnel against UF and UT? I'm going to go 0%. I think they're worried. I'm not saying they're worried about playing Lawson Lucky, but if they didn't have to before, they damn sure don't want to now. You know what I mean? They didn't play 13 personnel when Brock was healthy. They're dang sure not going to play it now that he's hurt. So there's that. Let's see. Let's keep going. Here's the question. Is UGA better with Lucky, Spurlin, and Delp on the field, or Delp, Lovett, and either MRJ, McCon? Yeah, the second one. Delp, Lovett, and the veteran wide receiver core. Again, it is really, really hard to play as a freshman in this conference. It is very, very hard. It's very, very hard to pick up the speed, to understand what's going on. We talked about yesterday about how, I don't think we talked about it. I was listening to somewhere else, like the shock and awe value. If you got to just walk up, not from the stands, but if you got to walk up on the field and on the sidelines, you're 6'6", and I bet some of that size takes you away, doesn't it?
Every time.
Every time.
Every single time.
And you're a large human.
Yeah.
And every time you're like, God dang. Mm-hmm. And not only the size, it's the speed too.
Oh, yeah.
It's how fast everybody's moving. And you're like, whoa. Because and when someone else isn't moving that fast or is shocked by the moving of that fast, you can see it sticks out like a sore thumb. And freshmen tend to be those types of humans on tape when we take a look at them. Let's continue on this here. Remember, guys, question marks. StreamYard used to make this really, really easy because I could like pick on one and I would know exactly where to go back to. Hit me with another Twitter question while we're waiting on the chat to catch up.
Who wins in a beach volleyball tournament? We got Kirby Smart, Hugh Freeze,
CKS, Hugh Freeze,
and Lincoln Riley.
Ooh. We had a dirty crew until Lincoln showed up. Now we're getting a little soft. All right, what's up?
Brian Kelly is on the other team.
Okay, little BK.
Dan Lanning.
Okay.
Ryan Day.
Oh, my God.
That's actually a really good question.
That's actually a really good matchup here.
I like that matchup.
So, first of all, the second group, I think, has a height advantage for sure. Okay, Ryan Day about 6'2", 6'3". Dan Lanning about 6'2". Yeah, he about 6'1", 6'2". Brian Kelly, I think about 5'11". Not a very big man.
Brian Kelly's definitely the weak link in that group.
For sure. And Ryan Day, believe it or not, played both linebacker and quarterback his freshman year of college at a Division III school. So, hey, I think it's D3. What I've always said about D2 and D3 football players, you're signing up for stupid. Like, you're just going out there to hit, and that's dope. That means you're cut from a different cloth.
Tough
so we
guy.
can say, tough team. Okay, tough guy right there in Ryan Day. So I like that little matchup here. The Lincoln Riley addition to the top group really threw me off because one thing I'm going to tell you about, like Kirby, defensive-minded guy, ultra competitor, going to do what it takes to win. We know for a fact Hugh Freeze don't care about doing what it takes to win. He's going to go out there and get it done. I get thrown into we're going to have some real it's not going to be very a cohesive unit between these three guys because two of the guys are going to think the other guy's soft as Charmin, and that's just not going to go well.
The other thing that hangs me up on it is that Dan Lanning would have such an age advantage on that too. Like I feel like Dan Lanning could run circles.
Only guy in his 30s in this list for sure.
Yeah, he could run circles on anyone on that court.
Lincoln Riley screams pickleball club in his local neighborhood out in Cali.
Yeah,
that's the type of sport I feel like he would be dabbling into. Not
dude,
if you
subbed out Eli Drinkowitz for Lincoln Riley right here, I think they walk the table
for sure.
But this is a really good matchup. I'm gonna say because of rally scoring, I don't like the mental makeup of Brian Kelly and Ryan Day in a momentum-based game, which volleyball is a momentum-based game with rally scoring.
Very much.
I can see that top group, Kirby and Hugh, maybe Kirby getting on there and getting a little streaker on the serves. Next thing you know, we got some slouched body language. We're starting to really roll. I like that first group.
Yeah, I like the first group as well.
I think Dan Lanning would make it he'd be the MVP of that team.
Yeah.
Like it's basically how much can Dan Lanning carry Brian Kelly and who's the other one?
Ryan Day.
Yeah. How much can Dan Lanning carry those two? So
yeah.
I'll go team one.
Who's the first one to take a ball off the face?
Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly.
Are we just assuming Brian Kelly's a naff?
Yeah. I think so.
What is it about that? Is the rotundness and the shortness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the general.
It's his aura too.
Yeah, general aura. Yeah.
Like Lincoln
all these
Riley,
other guys.
Lincoln Riley gives me like dad vibes.
Lincoln Riley gives me I'm trying to be a little too cool vibes, which is okay.
The athleticism of a dad, where it's like at least he's trying. It doesn't look good. Brian Kelly's just like, brother, what are you doing?
But you are right on this. Dan Lanning gonna be out for blood.
Oh yeah, Dan
Lanning's gonna be diving through the post, like talking hella shit. Yeah. I don't know.
Dan Lanning might have like 20 of their 22 points.
You are 100% correct there. Here we go. Question. Should Lincoln Riley hire Iowa's defensive coordinator?
That's actually not a bad.
It's not a bad take.
Yes.
Who is Iowa's defensive coordinator? Man, you talking about a guy going under the radar. That dude right there gets no love.
Phil Parker.
How long's Phil Parker been at Iowa?
Oh, wait, hold on. That's not the defense coordinator. That's the defensive backs coach.
Oh. Maybe they don't have one. Maybe it's Ferentz.
Oh, wait, no. It is him.
It's Phil Parker?
Yeah. Let's see. Get a little wiki on here.
Give me some wiki on Phil Parker. This is going well. You keep doing that. I'll scan for some more questions. What's up?
He's been there since 2013.
Holy smokes! How's no one managed to try to hire him away?
He's been DC actually since 2012. I take that back. Excuse me?
What?
This man has been at Iowa since 1999.
Well, there's your answer.
Well, there's your answer. He's never leaving.
He's never leaving.
Yeah.
What's he look like? I bet he's got weather on his face.
Yeah, he does. I just saw a picture of him. Yeah, that's exactly what you would think he'd look like.
Weather on his face?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Been through some wars.
He almost looks like, what's his name that calls basketball games for ESPN? Van Gundy.
Yeah.
He almost looks like Van Gundy.
I thought you were saying Dick Vitale.
No. Do you think it's an advantage for Georgia and Florida to know every year when the bye week is? 100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%. It's a tremendous advantage. And it is very uncommon, right? They're the only ones, them and like Michigan and Ohio State don't get this.
I think Texas and Oklahoma have
There
their
you
bye
go.
week traditionally
Texas and Oklahoma
after.
get this.
They
and
do it
that's
after
really
the
it. They do it after that
But other
game.
than that, I don't know about.
But no, it's an advantage, especially for your football coach, from a standpoint of like he is a micromanager. He wants to have everything kind of nailed out down to the day. And here's an example of this. He talked about wet ball drills, and they go through during the preseason, and they just start circling random practice dates, and those are rainball days. So he like goes through the whole yearly schedule. He has a yearly schedule. And he goes through and he circles dates to add in all those things. He's very much so a micromanager. And yes, having your bye week right there is undeniably an advantage that you have over everybody else.
Plus, I think it really works out for them because it's always like smack in the middle of the season. And that's always a point in time when you probably really need a bye week.
If you had to pick a team that gets more of an advantage from it, who would you say?
Probably Georgia from a standpoint of they have consistent coaching every year, or they have since Kirby's been there. And what a bye week does for you is allows you to dig in even further on your opponent. And the longer I spend studying an opponent, if I'm smart, the more I should find out. And when you have coordinators like Glenn Schumann, that man gonna figure pretty much everything out that is there to figure out. If you give him extra time, and that's exactly what a bye week is.
Oh, yeah.
So hey, make sure you're loading up the questions in the chat. We're getting those as well. They seem to be a little bit slower. Don't know what it is. Oh shoot, I think I turned my mic off. Did. Sorry, I went to hit the mic button for a cough, and I turned it off. I don't know what it is about this new format of question and answer or Q&A, but for some reason we're not getting as many questions as we typically get, but that's okay. Make sure you are loading those up in the chat. We have a couple more Twitter ones, do we not?
Yeah, we do.
Let's hit a couple of them.
All right. Does the amount of 12 personnel Georgia runs go down with Brock Bowers out?
Yes, 100%. Undoubtedly. For the very reason of what we've been talking about lately and what Kirby talked about this week, right? Superman is dead. All right, first of all, he killed Superman. Acknowledged that he was once alive.
That's crazy.
Then killed him. So
he added the.
Does that make Kirby Smart Lex Luthor?
Ooh, might just make him Lex Luthor.
I don't know much about Lex, but
No, I'm not a
he
big
and Kirby have a lot in common?
No,
I could see
Kirby's got
Kirby in
hair.
an alternate universe being a supervillain.
Yeah, but the nice kind of supervillain that doesn't like kill innocent civilians. Just his arch nemesis.
He just has vengeance against one person.
Yeah, he's like a good arch villain. What was the question? 11 personnel. Yeah, you're gonna. I think what I was talking about Saturday, or what I was talking about Monday when the news first broke, is that hey, like, if you're going to try to run some extension of the run game stuff, some out in the screen thing, and you got to replace his blocking ability, maybe Marcus Rosemi-Jack-Saint takes those snaps, right? If we're trying to, create some verticality, maybe Arian Smith or CJ Smith takes some of those reps, right? Some of those design shots that might have been in the playbook for a guy like Brock, or where you're trying to get what we call disproportionate speed onto the field. That's what Brock is. He is way faster than anybody at his position typically is. You have other versions of that, use that, right? If you want to get into more of a run-based set, yes, you're going to get back into a 12 personnel and not be afraid to do so just because you have a freshman going out there playing football. So, yeah, you're not going to play as much 12 personnel because, well, you're just not going to, right? It's going to get back to being more of an 11-based football team, which, by the way, that's Bobo's history. Bobo's history is an 11 personnel guy in years past. You think of all the years that he was here at Georgia. That was an 11 personnel football team. And somebody hit me in the chat or in the comments the other day on Twitter and said it perfectly. And I don't even remember the guys' names that he used as an example, but he was like, hey, if he can score with
Jeb Blazevich, Jay Rome, who are some other ones, Christian, in that time era?
Give me some Georgia Tyron Scott Wesley or the Scott Wesley guy.
Justin Scott Wesley was kind of good.
He was kind of raw.
Good speed
He was
burner.
kind of good.
He was. I would say he's probably his best comp would be Arian Smith.
All right, so I think Mike Bobo put up 40 points with a bunch of kind of good and A.J. Green and Malcolm Mitchell.
During that era, Georgia had a lot of just really solid wide receivers. Like
bunch of
Malcolm
really
Mitchell,
good.
Chris
Yeah.
Conley,
Chris Durham.
Michael Bennett. Yeah, like guys that don't pop off the screen to you, but they're just really solid.
Yeah, just a bunch of like B grade receivers.
Are Michael Bennett and Lad McConkey the Spider-Man meme?
No.
Not quite.
No.
How? Who's better?
I'd say Lad's a
Lad's
little better.
I think that's recency bias. I bet if
No,
you look at their stats.
I don't remember Michael Bennett.
I
Like,
love Lad, don't get me wrong, but I remember Michael Bennett being like,
Oh,
didn't he have like 600 yards a year almost?
Michael Bennett was a much more.
I'm about to look up Michael
he was
Bennett's
Mr.
stats.
Dependable.
He was a much more 50-50 guy than Lad was. Lad's a much better route runner than Michael Bennett.
And I don't remember Michael Bennett having like as many explosives.
This is what I love about Q&A. We can't even find the college stats. This is what I love about Q&A. Every once in a while, we'll get diverted into something like this. Keep going with whatever your take was on that.
Rentavious Wooten's a name that comes to my mind of that
Why
era.
can't I even find a Michael Bennett?
You have to do like Michael Bennett UGA college stats.
So
These guys
they
are-
must not be that good.
Well,
they weren't.
Did I misremember Michael Bennett?
probably not. I mean, he was good. Don't get me wrong. Like I think he's very much an underrated UGA football alum. Don't
First of all, Michael Bennett 6'3". That's nuts. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I told you he was like a 50-50
Um,
guy.
So here we go. Stats on Michael Bennett. Averaged about 400 yards a year. Averaged about 30 catches a season.
Yeah,
Mr. Dependable.
solid.
That's Lad McConkey, guys. Stat-wise. If you just box score scout him, that's Lad McConkey.
Okay, but to the way they got those 30 catches and 400 yards is completely different.
Correct. Well, you are right. I mean, Michael Bennett was much more of a deep ball 50-50 guy, not a deep ball shots run under the ball guy is what you're telling
No,
me?
not at all.
Okay. Because Lad's a deep ball run into the shots
Exactly.
kind of guy. All right, can you talk about scholarship distribution by positions? Who are the best numbers for UGA based on how they play? Oof. So this is an answerable question, and I'm not going to answer it to 100% certainty because I'm not inside the building and privy to these discussions. But here's what I know about Kirby. He takes a full class every year. And what do I mean by that? He's going to take 5 offensive linemen, roughly, on averages, if you look at him. He's going to take 5 offensive linemen. He's going to take 3 or 4 wide receivers. He's going to take 1 or 2 running backs. He's always going to take a quarterback, right? He's always going to take 1 or 2 tight ends. He's going to build the roster every single class. He's going to take a full load of defensive linemen and edge rushers. He's going to take 2 or 3 linebackers. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't one side of the ball or the other. That's why, because he doesn't necessarily have to, because every year his roster is relatively balanced with the amount of talent that he's distributed to every single side of the ball and every unit of the football team. I think you guys have noticed this over the years as well, where you recruited full class at Georgia.
Yeah, he
no
doesn't
doubt.
spot fill. It's mostly just, all right, we're getting a new roster in here.
Now, there has been years where you've completely whiffed on an entire position, right?
Yeah.
Like the 2022 offensive line class. It was bad. It was really bad. How bad? Well, there's 2 guys still remaining on the roster. Ernest Green and Aluba. Griffin Scroggs, see ya. Elijah Hood, see ya. There was one more, see ya.
Dang it.
Offensive lineman. Anyways, but nonetheless, every once in a while you miss on a couple of guys in one position group and you kind of have to replace and get a bunch more in the next class. I think they ended up taking 6 in 2023 right off that, and they've got 6 in the 2024 class lined up as well. So, every once in a while you miss on a certain position group or have a couple of misses in the same position group. Or in the example of like the defensive back room, there might be a year where you have, or 2 years back to back where you had in 2021 and 2022, where you have damn near 5 guys, either one guy and Tyreek Stevenson leave for the transfer portal, and then DJ Daniel leaves maybe a season too early, right? And then Eric Stokes is a first-round draft pick, Tyson Campbell's a second-round draft pick. The next year, Darian Kendrick's draft. Like, you lose 6 or 7 guys in a matter of like 2 years, and then, you got to go really hammer the resources in that specific class or that specific position. But in terms of an ideal strategy, how they go about building their roster, in my opinion, they recruit a singular class, a full roster, every single class. Rate my take. Ooh, here we go. Oscar Delp becomes the Nick Chubb to Brock Bowers' Todd Gurley-ness.
I think I get where he's going with this.
If we're just raking that off, you telling me you think Oscar Delp's about to be the next Nick Chubb in terms of the tight end position, and you think he's going to be like 98% of what Brock Bowers just was, I'm going to tell you that's a scorching hot take.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a scorching hot take. I'm going to say that hot take's got like a 9.8 on it.
Maybe he's
10.
getting at it in the sense of the infamous,
no drop off.
The infamous clip of Desmond Howard saying you can't hit your wagon to Nick Chubb when Todd Gurley was no longer with when he was hurt and they had to go to freshman Nick Chubb, and then Nick Chubb put like over 200 yards against Missouri. So maybe he's getting at it in that sense of everybody's like, oh, Georgia's doomed at tight end, the offense isn't going to be the same, and it's like, whoa, now we still got Oscar Delp, and he's going to be able to plug in and keep the offense and help it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you can say. Because Nick Chubb and Todd Gurley are 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
So to say Oscar Delp and Brock Bowers are going to be at no disrespect to Oscar Delp, but I think Brock Bowers we've seen as a generational talent. Not that Oscar Delp's not going to be a great tight end, but saying that he's going to be maintaining that same production, I don't know about that one. That's a pretty hot take.
Absolutely. Hey, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review, and continuing to fire off the chats in the comments. Brooks says, Jay Griff, what are the chances Bobo lets Lovett take the reins in terms of those quick targets? Bobo is good about getting playmakers the ball. So I think you saw this in the second half on Saturday against Vanderbilt. I think you saw Lovett kind of have a little bit of a pop-off there in the second half. He had one ball down the seam before the half, but I think he had 4 or 5 catches after the half.
He had the touchdown at half.
Correct. And the touchdown was a little whip return, or as we like to call it around here, row. Okay, got a little orbit motion return, okay, with the arrow. How about that? Return motion with the arrow, row. Y'all like that? I like that. Just in terms of talking football here, just talking football. But no, I think he's already seen an increase in the extension of the run game touches. Those are funny. Shouts out my boy Jed May. Oh my God, Jeremy Johnson. My boy, I love Jeremy. I love Jeremy a lot. Jeremy called me today, and he's like, hey, my mans, we're gonna be playing some hoops over at Clark Central tomorrow morning. Guess what time?
I don't know.
6 a.m. 6 a.m. runs. Now, albeit last time I went and got up runs up with Jeremy, I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna die. I was playing like I can run, but I can't run and play hoops. Okay, and when I'm not talking about like we're playing a pickup game where the pace is kind of good. Nah, dog. The pace was like out this world. I thought my heart was going to explode. So he just texted me and said it apparently got moved up to 5:45.
Oh, wow.
So that's like a 4:45 alarm clock
in
for me tomorrow.
You
want in?
Let me hop in.
You got to get up at 4:45 to be there at 5:45?
To get to Clark Central, to get my big ass out of bed and into Athens in an hour. Yeah.
Clark Central, damn.
They just be opening their gym like that?
Well, you got to know somebody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't be showing off. I probably should have said on live air, but hey, we ain't that big.
You're gonna have a fan base pull up to the
Dog, we ain't that big of a show. We might be one day, maybe one day. I think we warrant a show that size, but not yet. At least maybe. Let's see here. Does Lil Smart borrow a ball from Florida next week for the collection?
Borrow is a loose term, bro.
Yeah.
He's taking
There's
that
no
home.
borrowing.
That is
straight
his
cop.
football.
We were wondering how he got the nickname Boogie. It's just because he slime.
Yeah.
He just slime around. That boy slime.
Might also because he dances.
Yeah, you think so?
He does love a locker room celebration.
I saw a GIF the other day of somebody putting the Savage pads on, and Andrew Smart standing next to him going, "Let's go!"
What a guy.
Nice way to avoid the F word.
Yeah. Hey, look, I got a new meme. I love it. I love it. Don't say the F word. Try not to say the F word. We're working on it around here. Let's keep going with these questions. Based on film thus far, give us your O-line starting 5, I think is what that said. It jumped on me, yeah. Based on film thus far, give us your O-line starting 5 once Mims returns. Oh, this is in my second half predictions, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it right here. I'm going to lose, it's what it says right here, second half predictions. I'm going to lose my mind watching a crowded room at offensive guard when Mims gets healthy. So I was ready to talk about it tonight because I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to be on here and I'm going to be like, dang, guys, because I don't like talking bad about football players, but I like talking up other football players, so or the right football players. So when Dylan Fairchild and Michael Morris are playing like, I don't know, top 50 picks, top 60 picks, NFL Sunday starting caliber offensive linemen, when they're playing like that and a fifth-year senior, returns from spot duty at right tackle, I think Xavier Truss is a Sunday football player. He's going to be a Sunday spot starter. He's always going to have a spot on the roster because he can play all 5 positions. He's really smart. He's a serviceable NFL football player. Those other 2 guys that are rotating in at guard right now, at left guard, they are extremely high-ceiling football players, like extremely high-ceiling football players. The types of ones that really change how you run the football and how well you run the football. Yeah, I'm worried that when Marius Mims comes back, presumably Florida, he's back running around, all right, and coach said he looked good during conditioning. If you get a he looked good during conditioning, you're probably going to be ready to close the play very, very soon. Okay, so yeah, when he gets back, Xavier Truss now gets available for playing time at guard. Is that necessarily great for Georgia? I don't know, because I think, in my opinion, Dylan Fairchild, Tate Ratledge, and Micah Morris are your 3 best guards right now. And y'all seen the tape. Y'all watched Mistake Monday. I think it's been pretty undoubtable right now, or unquestionable right now, that those 2 guys at left guard have played really, really well, far better than 73 did when he was in there. And that's all we have to evaluate it on. We have to evaluate on what you did when you were in there during those reps this season. And this season, it didn't look great, particularly in the run game. He's a great pass protector. Okay, a tremendous pass protector. But when we're falling off blocks in the run game, we got to get guys that can actually blow people off the ball. And that's exactly who Dylan Fairchild and Micah Morris are.
I mean, it's good in the sense of that's a good problem to have, of that you have enough good players where you have to make a decision, but that's also bad in the sense of someone who has earned playing time and has earned snaps this season and has very much earned that role is going to have to step aside and sit on the sidelines for a little bit more than what they have been over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to make that decision. I mean, it's tough. That's really all I can add to that.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Was Cock really dropped from the Gator program? That's breaking news. We already did the offensive line question. Any word on Raylan Wilson or Jonell Aguero and the potential for them playing major minutes versus QB run and or heavy passing teams? Asked Michael Hirschfield in the YouTube comments. So I thought there was going to be, like during the summer, okay, when you're just listening to what the news is out of 7-on-7s and out of player-led practices and stuff when guys are in shorts and T-shirts just running around. What we heard out of that portion of the year and what we told you over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin was that Jonell Aguero is one of the more special individuals on this football team, that he was physically more gifted than anybody really you have available at the star position. Okay, that being said, I didn't expect Tyke Smith to come out and play like an All-American through 7 games. Did you guys?
Not as well as he has, no.
I mean, All-American first team type stuff at the nickel? No, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to be essentially leading the SEC in turnovers right now at the star position, being Tyke Smith. Okay, I expected him to play really, really well. I didn't expect this. Okay, I didn't expect high production rates in coverage, which is what we're seeing right now through the last 7 football games from Tyke Smith. So will you see these freshmen that you mentioned right here in Jonell Aguero, and I think the other one he mentioned was Raylan Wilson, will they be getting playing time? I don't know. Not unless you continue to blow. Like, you're not blowing teams out either. I was talking to somebody, I think it was Jeff Santel, on the sideline Saturday, and just how almost disheartening it must be as a young player to make that trip and think, like, this is one of them games. Because there's not a lot of them, right? Not a lot of them on the schedule where you're, like, guaranteed we should win by 40. I should be in the fourth quarter. That was one of those football games, and it didn't happen. So your opportunity for young football players has drastically decreased when you're not handling business like you're supposed to on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about or alluded to, because we said that Brock Vandagriff would have more pass attempts in
more
the
fourth quarter attempts than Carson
fourth quarter
Beck.
attempts than Carson Beck. And that hasn't. I mean, how
road.
many has he had so far? It's not more than 20.
Shoot, I don't think he's had 10 attempts.
Yeah, so that's a where we were wrong, but that has got to be disheartening, and it's probably not great for your next season development either, because you're not letting some of these young guys get run.
Our guy Brock Howard in the chat. Brock Howard, one of our more adamant listeners. My man's always in the Instagram DMs, always hitting us with suggestions, always hitting us with some love. He asked, what happens if our offense is actually better because there's only half of a game of tape without Brock? I don't know if it's going to be better, but it might be. And here's what I'm almost as curious. I'm far more curious about this answer than I am about the one that everybody wants to ask. Right now, since Brock's gone out, everybody and their mama wants to know, what's Georgia's offense going to look like? It's going to look the same, okay, in terms of schematics. They're going to do the same stuff. They're going to run the same plays, the same routes, the same concepts for the most part. What will be different is how they are defended, okay? Defenses will have completely different game plans. They will have completely different coaching points. They will have completely different ideals about how they go about stopping Georgia's offense. That's far more what I'm concerned about or interested in after this injury than anything else, because other teams have been very zone-based against you right now. They've kind of backed off of you, except for South Carolina, and everybody's kind of been like, all right, we're just going to try to keep them in front of us. We're going to play a lot of zone. We're just going to be patient. Okay, I don't know if that's the case now that Brock's out. Far more intrigued with how other teams are going to respond to you than how you are going to respond to the injury.
Yeah, the only other thing that would be more intriguing, I guess, would be what personnel you use to replace Bowers. Because like you said, there is no one guy that does what he does. So it's where are you going to use who for what, and how do you disguise that so you don't have tendencies such as? Yeah,
the tendency avoidance is very, very important the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, it won't be the first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks you put your tendencies on tape. The third, fourth week when you play Ole Miss and Tennessee and things like that, that's when tendencies start to get taken advantage of because you've actually put them on tape. Got a question from Derek Lewis in the chat asking, which QB do you actually think will leave next year and why? I asked the question to tell you that I don't answer these questions. Here we go. Not bad. Let's see here. How does Georgia's defense match up against Florida's offense? So from my understanding, it's Ricky Pearsall and a bunch of freshman weapons from Florida.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding of the offense. It's a run-based, run-first attack. They are very misdirection-based in their run game. It is not standard, traditional run game. That it's very unique run scheme. And when you match up against football teams like that, you better have good eyes. You better have good discipline on the defensive side of the football, and better be able to, play consistently on the defensive side of the football, and that's what they've been able to do year in, year out. So the teams that I worry about Georgia being able to quote-unquote match up with are the teams with weapons on the outside, and Florida is not one of those. That is the only teams that have ever really bothered me. Even when, schematically, just talking about matchups. Because if your bag is running the football, I'm here to tell you that you're not going to have success. You're not going to have success in enough to where you can score 30 points, 35 points, and win football games. Think about the teams that have tried to do this against Georgia in years past. Okay, Michigan being the primary example. Michigan won a Joe Moore Award. Their coordinator won the Offensive Coordinator of the Year Award. What's that one given away to the best coach? The Maxwell Award, whatever. The award given to the best assistant coach in the sport. Okay, Michigan had the best offense in the sport. So says the awards. Played an Orange Bowl against Georgia based off I'm big bully. I'm gonna run the ball. They got their face caved in. Every single time it happens, you get your face caved in against Georgia. So I'm still holding that one there, not necessarily worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's another one of those examples of every single year. They're pretty much the same brand of football. If we're going to live and die by the run, and then we're going to use our passing game to just kind of play right off of it. And that hasn't worked out for them either.
This is one I'm gonna start with you guys. Jay Griff, it's probably the best question we've seen all night. I want to make y'all competitive about this one. I think this is it. Question. Is NIL exposing coaches as bad developers more than it is helping them win ball games?
So what the question's asking is the fact that you can essentially pay to get players now, is that exposing them and saying that – what's the question asking?
So I think the question is basically saying guys that are having to lean on the portal are having to do so because they haven't developed the talent that they recruited out of high school. So let's take it from that perspective.
I'll say yes, and I think, which naturally my mind goes to Texas A&M, and I actually the reason why is because I was looking at the tight end classes over the last couple of years, and Texas A&M.
We never got to that.
No, we didn't.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Basically, yeah, Georgia's the only school that's really done it.
Okay.
But Texas A&M signed 3 out of the top 7 tight ends in that really historic 2022 class. I haven't heard of any of those guys. I had to go and Google search to make sure that they were still at Texas A&M because I didn't remember any of those
Jake
names.
Johnson's the only one that's really playing, isn't he?
Yeah. And the other guys, I was like, those guys, for all I know, could be at another program, could be in the transfer portal. And I find myself doing that with Texas A&M a lot of a lot of those guys from that class. you go and look at the roster like, oh yeah, I forgot that you even ended up at Texas A&M because I feel like I don't hear your name at all.
Yeah, I think that is a good question. I think another culprit of it is the transfer portal, because I think the problem with the trendy thing to do now is, if you're a new coach, is to go in the transfer portal, get a handful of guys, and like rebuild your roster essentially from the ground up. Problem is that's not sustainable at all. You can have these one-year wonders, so there isn't really any room for development. So by the time all these transfers that come in, they leave, you're left with another bare bones roster. So yeah, that and the fact that you can get the number one player if you're a Jackson State or a Colorado.
There's also a no insurance policy when you miss on a transfer guy. You bring a transfer guy in, like Colorado, they got 60 some odd transfers, right?
Yep.
Those kids ain't leaving.
Nope.
They're at Colorado. They've used their one-time transfer. They're not going to leave your program to go sit out somewhere else unless you run them out of your program or cut their scholarship. And he's proven, and some of these coaches have proven, they're more than willing to do that. But that's not really the point. You know, the point is the fact that there is no insurance. Like, once they're bad, once you miss on a transfer portal guy, unless he's just got 1 year of eligibility, unless it's a one-time free agent, like a rental agreement, you're stuck with that player for multiple years.
I also don't know if it's exposed coaches for being bad developers as much as it has exposed the recruiting ranking system that we use.
Yeah.
Because how many of, like, we went through it one time, how many of the top 10 recruits end up truly being top 10 players in college football?
You remember me
30%.
reading off that quarterback class?
Yeah, it's not a lot. So I don't know if that's as much an indictment on how coaches develop as it is how we rank recruits.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes hand in hand to some degree, but I think that, like, A.D. Mitchell was a 3-star.
Don't buy into those ratings.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot less about, oh, this guy was a 5-star, he should be good when he comes on campus, and if he's not, it's the coach's fault for not developing him, as it might be he might have been overrated.
Like Tez Walker is an extreme example of this, right? That's a 6'3", 200-pound, 4.4 running dude that ended up at NC Central, I think it was, coming out of high school, and then transferred to Kent State and is now obviously balling out at UNC after winning the approval of his. Can Tyler Williams develop into a true X by next season? Maybe. I see. You know, I'm a big ass and hips guy, right? On the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
The reason being, you really can uncoil your hips. You can really, like, be an explosive athlete. Outside of Larry Fitzgerald, do you know of a single wide receiver who's just got yams? I'm talking about a fat-o ass.
I got to be honest, I don't look.
So it's because you're not a scout. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know of one. Larry Fitzgerald, the only wide receiver I've ever known, big old booty on him. Ty Williams got big old hips and ass. And I'm just telling you, over the years, I avoid it. You know what I mean? Calvin Johnson, built like a Greek god, doesn't have a disproportional hip and ass. So just something I'm paying attention to. Size of the ass of the wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald is the only one who bucks this trend.
I have to say,
you lost me.
that is nowhere near where I thought that conversation was about to
Not
go.
at all.
Is it ever?
No, no.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm trying to be dead
No,
serious.
I know you're being
I get what you're
serious.
saying, but, like,
I'm trying to be dead serious. I think there's a level of hip tightness that comes with that kind of, you know, body type, that instead of, like, we're straight up down, we kind of got like that bend in our core and in our butt, and our butt kind of sticks out. I'm not saying he's fat. I'm not saying anything I'm just saying his body bends at his midways. He's kind of thick. So, and to answer your question, maybe. Don't necessarily think next year's the run there. I did have a second half prediction that I want to hit right here, because it kind of ties into this, and it will kind of answer our question as to whether or not Ra Thomas comes back next year. My second half prediction is that over the remaining football games that Georgia plays, Ra Thomas averages 75 yards per football game.
I said he doesn't go another game without less than 3 catches.
You're trying to figure out what it's going to do?
Yeah, so that's like a little over 500 probably.
In those, it's 450 like receiving yards in the available games. So here's the numbers that I ran on. Okay, he would have 631 yards at the end of the regular season if he averaged 75 yards per game. Okay, so 631 by the end of the regular season. If he averages 75 yards, okay, per game through a title win, okay, that would put him at 1,081 yards, thus becoming the first 1,000-yard receiver since our friend Terrence Edwards.
Whoa. Wow.
75 yards a game. That's what it's going to take. And he's got to do it for 7 football games. The 5 remaining regular season games and the 3 playoff games as well. So 8 remaining football games. 75 yards a game. I think it's doable. And what that will do is probably not bring him back for next year.
Oh, no.
No, he's gone.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
He would be
He's out
gone.
of there.
And if that is the case, then yeah, guys like Tyler Williams are 100% going to have to step up next year. What receiver you think is going to get playing time now that Brock is out, Jackson Meeks or C.J. Smith? Rep share, honestly, is going to look about even for both those guys at 2 different positions. Jackson plays more of the X and Z spot. C.J. Smith going to play much more in the slot. But both of those guys are like third up.
Yeah.
Right? Third up. Dominic Lovett, Arian Smith, C.J. Smith at the slot. And then you got at the X and Z,
Rah-rah.
you got Rah-rah,
MRJ,
Dylan Bell,
and then
Jackson Meeks. Right? And then you can throw Ladd in there as well because he'd probably, like if all shit went to hit the fan, Ladd would probably be playing X before anybody else in that group right there. Did Brooks just call my dude Tyler Kyle Lowry? I mean, kind of. If you were at AD, who would you hire to replace Jimbo Fisher? Everybody's going to try to throw the bag at Prime, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to try to do that.
Oh, really?
I think the first thing that place needs is somebody to come in and just clean up all the shit. Just come in and just be a disciplinarian.
He's coached 5 games, and he just.
I'm just telling you what fan bases are
20,
doing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but you're
Bama fans.
fan base, sure, but they're not ADs.
But here's
Correct.
my thing is that I don't think teams should be pursuing Coach Prime after this year.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's established himself as he's going to be at Colorado for 2 years based on Travis Hunter.
I need the horns. Breaking news. Ladd McConkey has just tweeted, quote, best practice of the year.
Ladd's tweeting?
Ladd's tweeting. Best practice
Didn't they have
of the
those?
year.
Didn't they have?
Oh, they had the Sunshine.
Yeah,
the
the
Sunshine
Sunshine thing.
Club thing.
Oh.
The Sunshine
Well,
Foundation.
then, yeah, it was the best practice of the
For
year.
sure. I thought you were onto something too for a second, but then
I thought I was too. I thought we was finna just hammer the point
was like,
spread next week.
Dang, Ladd.
No.
All right, bro.
Yeah. Anyways, let's hammer out a few more questions.
We still have 2 more Twitter ones. By the way.
Let's give me a Twitter one. I'm gonna find the next best one in here in YouTube. Any Blaschke update? Yeah, I mean it sounds like he's healthy. I've seen him dressed the last couple of weeks, just not getting any playing time.
Besides the offensive line, who needs to tighten it up in the second half of the season?
Miscommunications defensively? Is that what we're gonna say?
I think that's a good one to go
I'm
with.
gonna say that. I'm gonna say
That was,
defensive
I
backs.
think we did a segment on that.
We did. Well, I'm gonna say defensive backs miscommunication. Okay, but I'm also gonna say interior defensive line havoc plays. Okay. Maybe Glenn Schumann starts getting into his bag with some run game stunts. They're normally not a run game stunt football team. They kind of just play their gaps. They play sound gaps. But maybe, just maybe, we start to throw in some of these run game stunts. Maybe we'll DT cross stunt against some zone runs. Thank you. I want to see some havoc. But sometimes that can be a little bit risky. Put you out into the open for maybe some potential busted runs. Joe over on YouTube says, Brooks, do you think great coaches of this era can, quote, script football games, like playing close football games against lesser opponents to build their teams for bigger games? I've heard a lot of this in the Georgia fan base. There's been a lot of these types of rumors, mythologies, theories. I think it's a load of crap. I honestly do. I think you go out and you play football games to win and win big. But here's what I will tell you. I've seen them tie their hands behind their back on purpose before. You know what I mean? I've seen them come out against lesser opponents and not try to be the most dynamic and creative offensive team in the world. I've seen them come out against lesser opponents and the second series of the drive, they've got young linebackers in the football game. I've seen it. So is the coach manufacturing stress, or is he playing the hand that he knows is going to win no matter what? I would go for the secondary of those opponents. Your coach tends to respect this game, and most coaches do. So I don't think this is one. I think this goes against. We're going to talk a lot about coaching theories and the moralities behind the game of football in NBR here in a little bit. But no, I don't think this is the case here.
No.
I think Kirby Smart would love to kick the shit out of everybody every single week.
Yeah.
If they could, if that's what they did every single week, he would love nothing more than that.
Next time he's in a squeaker, I'll ask him, hey, Coach, did you manufacture this one to
Did
be
you do
close
this on
because you wanted to
purpose?
test your football team? And we'll see if my credentials get ripped. We'll see if that happens really, really quickly. Is that it? We got one more Twitter question, don't we? Flip-flops or Crocs?
Flip-flops.
So you're a flip-flop guy. Where are we at? We walking around the house? We going out to the beach? We going to the lake? What are we doing?
I'm slides.
You're a slides
I don't
guy?
do either one of those.
I've always found slides to be hella uncomfortable.
I like them. They're convenient.
Had a pair of white Crocs. Thought those were pretty cool until they turned brown. Had a pair of black Crocs. They're very convenient.
Yeah.
And I'm a sock with slide guy because I don't like having the toes out. I'm not Shane Beamer. I'm not giving them for free. But, you know, Crocs are pretty hideous. But they used to be edible. I don't know if they still are.
Huh?
Excuse me?
Google it.
Bro, did you eat a Croc when you were a kid?
No, I didn't eat a Croc. I swallowed a quarter one time. That's pretty cool. I found that my mom sent me the x-rays the other day. You know what an x-ray looks like when you have metal in your stomach?
Yeah. It's like white.
Yeah, it's just clear. It just doesn't show up. So I had a big circle in my stomach. 4th grade. Shouts out Miss Earl. She wasn't watching me very closely.
Did you do it on purpose?
Theoretically,
Theoretically.
they are edible.
Well, what else do you know is theoretically edible that you can wear?
I don't know.
Dang sure not your shirt, but my Crocs are. So what's up? If I'm in a dire situation, I don't know why I'd have a pair of Crocs
Look,
around.
If it has to say this, although not advertised as edible, it is non-toxic, so technically you can eat it. Bro, that's not classified as Crocs are edible.
That's definitely, you can eat them. That is the definition of edible.
What do you think?
Technically, Brooks is right.
Technically, yes.
But in the sense that,
You made it seem like-
you can eat your Crocs.
Yeah.
Getting off on a technicality.
you made it you made it seem like, oh, you outgrow your Crocs? All right, you get to eat them now. Like it's like the end of the road prize.
Derek Lewis asked me if I pooped 2 dimes and a nickel. No, but for all of if your kids listen to the show for any reason, if any of them have oral fixations, which I did as a kid, and I still do, I chew on everything, everything's in my mouth. I have all kinds of different habits because of my oral fixations, because I was left with a passy in my mouth way too long. I'm not blaming your mom, but it's kind of your fault. But for those of you who have oral fixations or children with things that constantly are putting things in their mouth and potentially swallowing them, understand something. When you swallow a quarter or anything that is hazardous to your potential stomach lining, you basically have to check whether or not you passed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that be where it's at. Longhorn still owes me a quarter.
You passed it in the Longhorns?
Well, it's the only place I didn't check for my findings.
So wait, you don't know if you never found it, is what you're saying?
It's the only place I didn't check for my findings.
Right. So if you're saying
Bro, when you swallow a foreign object, you have to search through your own poop.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. And I wasn't searching through my own poop in a Longhorns, and it was the only time I pooped out in public.
But my point is that you never saw it.
No, I never found it.
So you might still have a quarter in you.
No, I definitely don't have a quarter in me.
You could still have a quarter.
No, because I went back to get x-rays and I passed it. Because I remember celebrating going down the hall because they were going to have to stick a tube up my butt and pull it out. Don't put things in your mouth, kids. We'll see you in 5 minutes.